Rachel never expected her 32nd birthday to become the night her world unraveled. Her father, Edward, had insisted on gathering the family together for dinner at the estate. The long dining table gleamed with polished silver and golden candlesticks, the scent of roasted chicken filling the air. Rachel arrived in her favorite navy dress, holding on to the hope that, for once, this evening would be about her. She had worked hard as a teacher, molding young lives, quietly earning respect in her own world even if her family rarely noticed. She sat down with a soft smile, her heart lifting when she saw a cake decorated with 32 candles. For a fleeting moment, she thought maybe they had remembered. Maybe tonight would be different. Then her father rose to make a toast. Tonight, he announced, his booming voice silencing the room, is not only Rachel's birthday, but also a moment to celebrate the future of our family. Rachel's heart swelled. Was this about her? Finally, recognition. Edward turned toward her cousin Vanessa, who sat glowing in a silk gown beside her new husband, a wealthy banker. I want you all to know, Edward continued, that I've rewritten my will. From this day forward, the estate, the business, and all family assets will pass to Vanessa. She and her husband are best suited to carry on our legacy. The room erupted in applause, glasses clinking in celebration. Rachel sat frozen, the smile sliding from her face, her hands trembling in her lap. Her mother, Margaret, reached across the table with a dismissive smile. Oh, Rachel, don't look so shocked. You'll always have your teaching job. You don't need the burden of family responsibility. You're comfortable. Marissa, her older sister, laughed cruelly. Honestly, Rachel, you'd just give it all away to your little students. Dad made the right choice. Her cousin Vanessa smirked. Don't take it personally. Some of us are meant for bigger things. Rachel looked down at the untouched cake in front of her, 32 candles flickering in silence. Her throat burned, but she said nothing. Instead, she pushed her chair back quietly and stood. You'll regret this, she whispered. Her voice was so soft that no one even noticed as the laughter carried on around her. The years that followed were silent ones. Rachel cut off almost all contact, only replying to her mother's occasional holiday texts with polite, but empty words. Instead, she poured herself into her work. Teaching had always been her joy, but now it became her salvation. She started tutoring privately, first with one student, then two, until her reputation spread across the wealthy neighborhoods nearby. Parents whispered about the miracle teacher, who could get their children into Ivy League schools. Rachel worked long nights, but for the first time in her life, she felt powerful. She saved every dollar, invested carefully, and 5 years later, she stood before the grand opening of her own private academy. The gates shimmered black and gold, the crest she had designed herself stitched onto uniforms worn by children whose parents lined up eagerly for enrollment. The Rachel they had once dismissed as too simple, had built an empire from scratch. And then, almost inevitably, her family came knocking. It was a grey autumn afternoon, when she heard the knock at her office door. She opened it to find her mother, her father, and Vanessa all standing there. Their faces were pale, their clothes worn from stress. Rachel, Margaret said quickly, "Darling, we need your help." Rachel crossed her arms, leaning against the doorframe. "Help? From me?" Edward cleared his throat, his voice strained. Vanessa's husband, his investments collapsed. The business is gone. The estate is mortgaged. And the children, Vanessa's children, need a place in your school. If they don't get in, their futures will be ruined. Rachel stared at them. She thought of the night they had laughed at her, the way her mother had told her she was comfortable, the way Vanessa had smirked like royalty. Vanessa stepped forward, her voice trembling. "Rachel, please. You have room. You can pull some strings. We're family." Rachel let out a low laugh, though her eyes glistened with unspoken pain. Family. I wasn't family the night you toasted Vanessa with my inheritance. I wasn't family when you laughed as I blew out my candles alone. Her father bristled. Don't be childish. This is about the next generation. You can't hold a grudge forever. Rachel's expression hardened. You're right. This is about the next generation. And that's exactly why your children will never set foot in my academy. My school is built for children who understand hard work, not entitlement. Margaret's eyes filled with tears. Rachel, don't do this. We made mistakes, but you can't turn your back on us. Rachel stepped forward, her voice low but firm. You taught me how to turn my back. Remember? She closed the door slowly, their muffled pleas lingering in the hallway. For a moment, she leaned against the wood, her chest rising and falling with emotion. She wasn't heartless, it still hurt. But she had finally chosen herself. That evening, as children in navy uniforms rushed through the academy gates, Vanessa and her parents stood outside, watching silently. Rachel stood at the window of her office, gazing down at them. She reached for the blinds, and with a steady hand, she closed them. Inside, laughter and voices filled the halls. Outside, her family faded into silence. And for the first time, Rachel realized the truest gift she had ever received wasn't their inheritance, it was their betrayal. Without it, she might never have built her own kingdom. They stole her inheritance, but she built her own empire. If Rachel's story gave you chills, imagine what's coming next. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell, because the next family secret will be darker, deeper, and even harder to forget.